Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I just wanted to check. Yeah. So they're released as yesterday's daily podcast from me is my so-called State of the Union speech from the Unconvention. And if you missed it, uh, it's nearly an hour long without any commercial interruption on radio. I'm sure there are a couple of commercials in the podcast, but please listen to it. Please listen to it because I put a lot of time into what I wanted to say. And those who did hear it, the reactions have been just awfully nice. Awfully nice. Yesterday, I'm a little wiped out. It was extraordinary. It was extraordinary. It was so nice to meet so many people at the Unconvention from all across the country. I'll tell you a funny story. I met a couple from Spokane, Washington, and I said, "You win. You traveled the greatest distance." And then later, a couple come up to me and they say, "Hey, we're from San Francisco and we traveled the greatest distance." And I said, "No, didn't you hear about the couple from Spokane?" They said, "No, we just Googled it. San Francisco is actually a further flight from Philadelphia than Spokane, Washington." Really good people, good speakers. I take credit for the idea, only the idea, because the execution was all the Bipartisan Policy Center. My colleague Steve Scully, Jason Grumet, the president and founder, and Unite America, Nick Troiano. I'll have much more to say about it on Monday. I just said to TC that we must cut up the tape of my panel discussion with former CNN president Jeff Zucker and former MSNBC president Phil Griffin. I want to play that on Monday. I watched it last night. As tired as I watched it last night. And I will tell you that it was a tough duty for me because I like both of them. I consider them friends. Jeff more so than Phil because I haven't seen Phil for a long time, but I hold them in high regard. And so I wanted to treat them, respectfully, but I wanted to bring to them my, thought, complaint, thesis about the role of the media in the polarization. I mean, what an opportunity, the former president of CNN and MSNBC. And I think I was able to achieve that. In other words, not to offend them, but not to go lightly either. I mean, here I was having delivered my State of the Union address. And then now I've got this opportunity to speak to the two individuals who ran those networks for so many years. Anyway, okay, sorry. I didn't mean to spend that much time on the subject. And I forgot to tell you about Steve Cordasco. Steve Cordasco, John Walker, the team at Mercer Advisors. They can do for you what they did for a couple of my listeners from Narberth, Pennsylvania, a couple in their 50s caring for a sick parent, had a grandchild on the way. After hearing me talk about Cordasco Financial Network and Mercer, they made the call. The team helped them out and did a solid job for them. I was sorry that Steve couldn't be at the Unconvention yesterday, but Steve spends part of his year living in Florida, and really the area where he lives in Naples got whacked. He's okay. His house is okay. The area is not okay. So I totally get it. He's got bigger fish to fry. Good guy. Call him. 855-558-3500. Cordasco Financial Network, a trade name owned by Mercer Global Advisors, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Andrew Garrett, Inc., which is not affiliated with Cordasco Financial Network or Mercer Advisors. Thank you, Steve. Did you see the thumbnail for this YouTube conversation? The professor, class dismissed. Good headline, PJ. I did not write that headline, but that's a goodie. So that is the image of Maitland Jones Jr., the no longer employed by NYU organic chemistry professor who was fired after there was blowback from his students who said, "Hey, you're too tough of a grader." This guy is in his 80s. Hang on. 82 of his 350 students signed a petition against him. They say in the original story about this in the New York Times, in the field of organic chemistry, Maitland Jones Jr. has a storied reputation. He taught the subject for decades, first at Princeton, then at NYU, and wrote an influential textbook. He received awards for his teaching as well as recognition as one of NYU's coolest professors. Somewhere along the way, they talk about how he retired and then he unretired. Ah, damn it, I can't find it. Oh, 84. He's 84 years old, still teaching. And you know, like everyone swears to his command of the subject. I've not seen anywhere where someone has written, hey, he's just too old for the gig. It's all about how hard a grader he is. So his firing has become like this huge kerfuffle. And I'm going to talk about it on CNN today. It's interesting because I saw at the New York Times, they originally wrote the story that there were 8,000 comments, the most popular of which was Jay Fogarty, maybe John Fogarty. Whoa. One of the students complained, this is the comment from Jay Fogarty. One of the students complained that the grades did not reflect the time and effort put in. That perspective misses the point. In life, you are graded for results rather than effort. The students better understand that pretty soon. That was the most well-received comment that was appended. And the comments are overwhelmingly on the side of the professor, and people see this as a really bad sign of the times. The poll question today at Smerconish.com. First time the CNN audience is going to see the new website. And I hope it gets a good vote. I don't know if it will, because you have to hear about this story, and I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it in the B block. Normally, I like to have a poll question that relates to what I say right off the top, and then we get the voting for the full, hour of the audience. But it's such a great one. Ready for this? Would your choice of physician be impacted if you knew they struggled with undergraduate organic chemistry? I mean, it's kind of like, does it matter to you where your physician went to med school? But what if you knew that they struggled with organic chemistry? Would that impact your willingness to see them as your internist, your primary? So you say, okay, Michael, what's the flip side? If this professor is competent, he's the gold standard in organic chemistry, just the mere idea of organic chemistry scares the crap out of me. Not a course that this liberal arts major would ever have taken. What's the flip side? If everybody says this is a sign of the times that these kids are being coddled, what kind of doctor are they going to be? This is a weed out course. Have you ever heard that before? This is a course that traditionally has been one that weeds out students. Students think they want to go to med school. Okay, go take organic chemistry. It's like, holy shit, I can't pass organic chemistry. All right, then maybe you shouldn't be a doctor. Nobody's forcing you to be a doctor. But our doctors have to have a particular knowledge and skill set that includes organic chemistry. What's the flip side? Today's print edition of the Times. Can you see that? A professor's firing reveals a lot about elite colleges. So this is Jessica Calerco, professor of sociology at Indiana University. No doubt I'll be inviting, TC will be inviting the professor to come on the program this week. So here's the way that it begins. And then I'm going to give you the flip side argument. And then you're going to go vote at Smerconish.com. New York University fired Professor Maitland Jones Jr. this summer after 82 of the 350 students in his organic chemistry class signed a petition expressing concern about the effectiveness of his teaching. Effectiveness of his teaching. Large numbers of students were receiving low scores on exams, and some had withdrawn from the course. The stakes were high. Organic chemistry is typically taught as a weed-out class, an introductory level class that is so difficult or so intensive, that only the most serious students can advance, in this case to medical school. The NYU students' willingness to challenge this kind of pedagogical gatekeeping is a sign of how power dynamics are shifting at colleges and universities in the United States. To some degree, this shift reflects a rising sense of entitlement on the part of students and their parents. The argument by Professor Callerco says, hey, this is partly about equity. Ooh, really? I didn't think about that initially. See if you find this compelling. That's not the only factor at play. Another is the increasing diversity of student bodies, which casts many higher education traditions in a new light. One of those traditions is the weed out mentality. Courses that are meant to distinguish between serious and unserious students, it has become clear, often do a better job distinguishing between students who have ample resources and those who don't. What do you mean by that? Well, imagine this. Imagine, for example, a student whose high school offers no advanced chemistry classes, who is the first in her family to go to college, and who, in addition to her studies, has to work 20 hours a week to pay bills. Imagine also that this student doesn't have a reliable laptop or Wi-Fi at her apartment, so she has to do her work on a computer lab or at home or on the phone. Now compare her to the classmate who took multiple AP science courses, who has no financial obligations, and who has all the learning tools he needs. They may sit right next to each other in that orgo class, but their backgrounds place them miles apart. Okay, I get it. And no doubt that's probably true. But however unfortunate, however disadvantaged the former might be in comparison to the latter, are we just going to pass them now right through med school? Do you want, as your physician, the doctor who struggled in organic chemistry as an undergraduate? I want the most competent physician I can have. And I hope that there's fairness in terms of access, but at some point, I'm not going to sacrifice. That's me. So where's that poll question? Would your choice of physician be impacted if you knew they struggled with undergraduate organic chemistry? I want a bright bulb. I got a pain in my calf right now. Okay. I woke up yesterday for the Unconvention, and as I'm getting out of bed, I guess it's not a Charlie horse, right? Because that would be my thigh. It was my calf, and I had such an immediate and throbbing, muscle tightening in my calf. Honest to God, I wasn't sure. 5 minutes it hadn't passed, and I wasn't sure I was going to get to the Unconvention yesterday, and it's still sore today. Now I know you're all going to say, "Oh, you better go get it checked out. Could be a deep vein thrombosis." By the way, TC, ask Woody and Helen what they make of it, okay? But I want a physician who's competent. And if you struggled, I'm sympathetic to the way in which you were raised and your circumstances and so forth. But I'm sorry, maybe the next generation in your family should be the physician. Is that harsh? That is the poll question today at Smerconish.com. Going to tell the story of the organic chemistry professor at NYU who used to be at Princeton, who's now gone because he's too tough of a grader. And I'm going to ask whether, it's defensible for those students to have been given what they wanted, better grades, and his firing. Yeah, it's a goodie. It's a goodie. One other thing, and then I got to run. So I said on radio 2 days ago, not Friday, but on Thursday, I said, hey, in fact, it was even our poll question. I asked if the Saudis and Russia had just put a thumb on the scale of our midterms in an effort to help the GOP and pave the way for Donald Trump. Didn't I say that about the cutbacks in oil production? Well, Thomas L. Friedman, smart guy, Pulitzer Prize winner, he says this. I'm just going to pick it up midstream. In another dark corner, Putin and Saudi de facto ruler Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman are probably hoping that the soaring energy inflation unleashed since Russia's invasion helps the Donald Trump-led Republicans to regain control of at least the House of Representatives in next month's election. That would be icing on the cake for both, who view Trump as a president who still loves black crude over green solar and knows how to look the other way when bad things happen to good people. Yeah, it's exactly what I was talking about. And he's, a hell of a lot smarter and better dialed in than I am. So I just feel like my instinct was correct. Thank you if you came to the Unconvention. I know that far more of you didn't come, and going to make it real easy for you to get all caught up. I'll talk about it Monday on radio so that you can go back and you can watch and see what you missed. But please, if you missed my opening commentary, it's my daily podcast from yesterday. So listen to TC After Dark, and please listen to my daily podcast from yesterday. And if you were there, thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'll see you on CNN soon.